Now I got it. I was fighting getting logged on through Streamlab. Shocker. 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 Remember on Monday night when it said I couldn't get into Twitter, and then last night when I did absolutely nothing to change it and got onto Twitter? Tonight I can't get onto Twitter again. Who wants to do silly things like that? We don't find a streaming service that works soon. I don't even know what to say.
You're going to join the Republican Party.
Oof.
Let's not get too crazy now.
No, yeah, let's not. Let's not be ridiculous now. I suppose we could try the phone at some point.
You want me to try that now?
No, we only got a minute.
Oh, you got a minute. Okay. Oh, that's right. Okay. All right.
We'll just throw it open and see who.
Yeah, we'll do an acid test, real world.
Yeah, I can't. A real test in real time. Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Courage under fire, so to speak.
Yep. 7:59.
Yeah, I know. Right. Getting there.
I'm going to mute.
Oh, there it is. Okay. Let's have at it. Engage.
Kennedy, 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 Kennedy. Do you want a man for president who's seasoned through and through, but not so doggone seasoned that he won't try something new? A man who's old enough to know
and young enough to do.
Well, it's up to you, it's up to you, it's strictly up to you. But it's Kennedy, 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 Kennedy. Do you want a man with spirit who is not afraid to fight?
A man whose record shows that he will fight for what is right.
A loyal man who'll bring the job a fresh new point of view. Well, it's up to you, it's up to you, it's strictly up to you. Because it's Kennedy, 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 Kennedy. And do you deny to any man the right he's guaranteed to be elected president, no matter what his creed?
It's promised in the Bill of Rights to which we must be true.
So it's up to you, it's up to you, it's strictly up to you. And it's Kennedy, 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 for me. Kennedy, 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 Kennedy. Do you like a man who answers straight, a man who's always fair? We'll measure him against the others, and when you compare, you'll cast your vote for Kennedy, and the change that's overdue. So it's up to you, it's up to you, it's strictly up to you. Yes, it's Kennedy, 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 for me. Kennedy, 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 Kennedy,
Welcome, welcome, welcome from my humble second bedroom here in the Saucon Valley, part of the Lehigh Valley in the Commonwealth, the more infamous than it was before Saturday, infamous Commonwealth of Pennsylvania in these United States, or at least that's still the name of them anyway, North American continent, Western Hemisphere, on this planet Earth, the only one. We have third rock from the sun in the Terran solar system, part of the Milky Way galaxy. This is the Kennedy Effect, live with you, TKE, tonight for Wednesday, 17 July 2024. Another warning to you. not not a dire warning, nothing earth shattering. If we disappear, we are having yet another round of severe thunderstorms. Power has not flickered yet. It did Monday. We actually did lose power for a bit after we signed off on Monday, which was good timing. Last night was fine. We have several rounds of thunderstorms flowing through here again this evening. Wind gusts as high as 70 miles per hour. Those are hurricane type winds. If I'm 55, the good news is I only feel my body like I'm 105. That said, this was not normal. I'm kind of pointing at my windows here. This was not normal when I was younger. I continue to be. I understand that so many people are paid to think this way. They make a handsome living lying to you about the realities of climate change. Even though the first articles explaining how we were changing the climate began to be published in the late 1800s, and how internal documents from scientists at what is now ExxonMobil, it was Esso, in the late 50s, how their own internal scientists were sending letters and memos and studies to the board of directors, CEOs, all the people in charge saying, we're changing the climate of the planet. And rather than Esso, run by these supposedly very smart business people, instead of moving their fossil fuel company into a green energy company, and even in the 50s, they could have begun to start doing that. That we had steam power, we had geothermal, there was tidal, water power, wind. We were all capable of these things even in the 50s and 60s. They decided to bury all that science and hide it so that they didn't have to change their business model. It was lazy. It was intellectually lazy, and it was monetarily convenient. There's also the massive subsidies that they've been receiving from the government for all of these decades. I mean, certainly more so since Reagan. But regardless of all that, this type of it just wasn't normal when I was younger, and I suspect that if you're intellectually honest about it and you really sit and think about it, it wasn't for the older folks in the audience. This isn't how it was when you were younger either. Now, there's a difference between weather and climate. The weather is what's happening day by day, and we know it can change day by day. But climate is what happens over a long period of time. If George can find the clip, I'll try to put the link to it in the chat. There's there's been several series of Cosmos on Fox, of all places, with Dr. Neil deGrasse Tyson, and in his first sort of update / remake of Cosmos, he did a scene where he walked on the beach with a dog, and he was demonstrating the difference between climate and weather. The dog was walking in front of Dr. Tyson, crossing in his path, going toward the water, moving away from it, moving over here to sniff a shell, chase a bug over here. That was the weather. Dr. Tyson continued to walk in a straight line. That is climate. And one need only look at the data to know that we have irrevocably, easy for me to say, or not, that we have irreparably changed the climate of the planet. I believe we are now at a point where we just have to try to make sure that we don't change it any further. But we've changed it. Mass amounts of land along the equator are no longer habitable. The deserts in Africa continue to spread. Australia is running dry. Lands further and further north that are usually cold are becoming more and more habitable. Palm trees can now grow in Pennsylvania. And I don't just mean in your house. And I don't mean, grow in the summer, die in the winter. I mean grow. Bamboo is now regularly seen throughout the Northeast. What was originally considered quite a tropical plant now grows very, very well in this region. There's an article online today about 11 towns in New Jersey that will be underwater by the end of the century. Not could be, will be. So I did not originally come on tonight to give you a big climate speech, but when the only precipitation that you get is near hurricane-like conditions, then something has changed. And I can tell you one term that you will not be hearing at Nuremberg this week. Sorry, I keep doing that. Milwaukee. I really need to snap myself out of this. Among the terms you will not hear at Nuremberg this week are climate change, environment, environmental protection, cutting greenhouse gases. You won't hear any of that. Because one of the major stakeholders and owners in the former political party known as Republicans is, of course, the fossil fuel industry. Again, great investment by the fossil fuel industry. An industry that receives over $500 billion every single year in subsidies from the federal government, from your federal government. Senator Sanders would tell you that that dollar figure is more like around 800 billion. Every single year. But let's take a conservative look at it. No pun intended. Small c conservative look at it. Let's say it's 500 billion. That's $1 trillion in 2 years. $2 trillion in 4 years. That same $2 trillion could eliminate student debt. That same $2 trillion could eliminate medical debt. 2 years of fossil fuel subsidies could pay for Medicare for all. Nancy Pelosi got a lot of crap when she said that, and God knows she was not the first one to say it, by the way, but it seemed more people paid attention to it when she said it. You show me a budget, and I'll show you your priorities. So let's not pay off student debt. Let's not finance higher education so that there is no student debt. Let's not have a single-payer national health care service. Let's give the money to the fossil fuel industries at the same time that they are raking in globally, historically high profits, consistently setting records for high profits. You won't hear any of this at Nuremberg this week. In fact, I want to tell you, I was trying. Oh, of course it won't. George just sent me a message behind the scenes here that we can't post the link we can't post the link on Facebook to the Cosmos clip because if I took it from YouTube and shared it as a post, I would probably be okay. I would suggest that, George, if you're there. Just taking it from, you can't put it in the chat perhaps, but I bet you I could post it. I've posted it before, actually. Oh, we tried that too. I actually think it might be me. I got blocked from sharing again tonight, folks. I made it about halfway through the number of places that I shared last night and got blocked. I only made it 38. I made it through 38 shares this week. Or tonight. I mean, tonight. Sorry. Tonight. 38 tonight before I got blocked. It's unbelievable. The quicker I can get away from Facebook, the better. I strongly, strongly encourage you, all of you, who are familiar with me, familiar with the show, fans of George, as you should be. Anybody who's new to the program through GCPR, any of that, start going to the YouTube channel to watch. Because I just don't know how much longer we can stay on Facebook. It's become, especially in this election year, they have clamped down. If you're a baseball fan, you might be familiar with the term squeezing the pitcher. An umpire who calls certain pitches strikes in the first inning, the strike zone seems to shrink as the game goes on and gets more tense. And they refer to that in baseball as squeezing the pitcher. He's squeezing the strike zone, shrinking it. Facebook is starting to squeeze people like me. Big outlets don't get touched. I imagine places like Patriotic Millionaires and Midas Touch and there's others that I can't think of at the moment. They're doing just fine, probably because they're paying Facebook gobs of money. I don't have gobs of money to pay them, so I don't. But that would be my guess. So folks like me who rely on your kindness, your loyalty, and Trump has so sullied that word, I almost hate to use it, but your loyalty, your kindness, your friendship, agree or disagree, your sharing, your likes, your follows, your subscriptions, depending on the service, it's the only way we survive. It's 8:15. Let me get to sort of the business end of the program. This TKE tonight for Wednesday, July 17. We're here for a hot hour, taking you through day 3 at Nuremberg. We are live right now on my personal Facebook, Jeff Kennedy. On that other side of information, on YouTube, we are on Twitch and LinkedIn, and we got no Twitter again tonight. It didn't work Monday. I did absolutely nothing to change it. It worked last night, and it's not working today. It's not easy starting a radio station, folks. I'll tell you what, because unless you're laying out the big bucks, they're going to put the hammer to you. They're going to put the squeeze on you and try to drive you out from success. Try to make success something that is absolutely unattainable before you ever even start. Well, we made it to the air. This is 3 weeks, or we're in week 3 is the better way to put that. We are in week 3 of GCPR Live, and I hope that you're enjoying it. I hope you're checking out the other. I hope you're checking out the other shows. Sound of Coffee, Help Desk, Conversations with T. Nathan, Cold Dead Hands, Impolite Company. I hope you're checking out all the programs because this is why we're here. Every voice matters, especially yours. So I hope you're checking out GCPR. I put the link in the chat, or maybe it was blocked. I have no idea anymore. Randall, so we're on GCPR Live. The audio is at gcpr.live, gcpr.live, the main website. You can catch us through a streaming service, an audio streaming service, radio streaming service called Voscast, an app called Shoutcast, which is related to Voscast. The video simulcast of the program if I'm not using an old term. I think it's still called a simulcast. We are on my Twitter. No, we're not on my Twitter. I just got done saying that. I'm getting the two things mixed up because they start with the same letters. We're on my Twitch, my LinkedIn, my Facebook, and on YouTube, which I would encourage you to go to as the best place and start using that as the place to watch us. Go to YouTube, search for us, That Other Side of Information. Give us a subscribe, and you will get a notice every time that we're on. And what's fun is you'll get a notice when we're testing. Whenever we test anything, new equipment, a new piece of software, anything like that, we test on YouTube, and it shows up there, and you can watch it, and it's kind of funny. It's funny. It can be ridiculous, to be honest. Just give it a look one of these days. Give it a look one of these days. It's funny. It's ridiculous sometimes because sometimes we're tired. Sometimes we're just being silly. We swear a lot more because I'm irritated and George has to talk me off the ledge, and it's just funny. So I'm going to have to begin to really push you all to check out YouTube. It's just a better place to watch. Randall mentions not just the federal government, also state governments. For example, Pennsylvania gives the oil and gas industry here billions of dollars. Yes, they do. $4 billion every single year. How many roads, sewer systems, school districts, the unemployment system, the workman's comp system, how many of these things could benefit from or their share of $4 billion every single year? The PA state budget, if I'm not mistaken, is only around a $33 billion budget. So $4 billion of that, 10% of it, that's over 10. Is it 10%? 4 times 10 is 40. Yeah, it's like over 10%. I'm pretty sure that the PA budget is around $33 billion. That's just free money to the fossil fuel industry. So let's not forget, Randall, too, by the way, not to ignore the rest of you, of course, but I mean, the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania also gives $500 million in free money to the horse racing industry every year. Yeah, I'm $500 million for the abuse of horses. Sounds like a fair deal to me. Let's get to the topics of the night, shall we? It is day 3 in Nuremberg, and we've learned a bit more about the vice presidential pick today. Mr. Vance was born in Ohio in a very poor town to a very poor family. He worked and graduated from Yale, all to his credit. He then became a venture capitalist, where he borrowed billions of dollars, bought companies, saddled those companies with debt, and then sold off the pieces while he made, and of course, ran away from the pension obligations, while he himself made billions. Or not billions, I'm sorry, he's not a billionaire yet. He made it hundreds of millions. He's a very, very wealthy man. His political rise has been predominantly funded by Peter Thiel, member of the billionaire class, who just hates pretty much everything. Hates people of color, immigrants, workers, unions, government, the social safety net, all taxes, He's your typical billionaire class individual. And he has been largely funding and bankrolling J.D. Vance. And I would encourage you to go back to 2016 when Mr. Vance was only a venture capitalist. For whatever strange reason, people started to go to him to ask him his political views. And he told them Trump was a danger to this country, that he was a criminal and a grifter, that he had no core principles, that he would be dangerous for the economy, that he was certifiable. He said all this just 8 years ago. And then here came Peter Thiel and his money. And here came Mr. Vance realizing, as so many of these, what I genuinely believe are fake so-called conservatives, it's a money grab. When I really think about the leading quote-unquote conservative voices in this country, I think there's some real believers. I think Alex Jones just might be a true believer. I think Ann Coulter might be a true believer. But so many of the others, I genuinely wonder if they actually feel the way they feel, or they just know they can get rich from it and already have. Hannity's a multi-millionaire. To the best of my knowledge, his radio program is still receiving direct money from the Republican National Committee. They also supply him with talking points and guests. Glenn Beck, Dennis Prager, Ben Shapiro, Charlie Kirk, Laura Ingraham, so many. I do genuinely wonder if they believe what they're saying. Are they sharing their actual beliefs with you, or are they just spewing a bunch of shite that they can make an awful lot of money doing? You know, April once told me, April Riddick, who's responsible for unleashing me on all of you, she once told me that if you went to the dark side, you could make a hell of a lot of money. And I think she's right, but I can't, because it's false, because it's all built on lies. And I just can't sit here and lie to you. I can get things wrong. I get things wrong all the time. I misquote statistics. You know, some of the statistics that I remember are older and they've been updated. I get stuff wrong. I might get the wrong year that something happened in my my historical brain, but I don't lie to you. I get things wrong. I definitely share my opinion, but I will not lie to you for the sake of fame, fortune, notoriety, etc. I happen to think a lot that some of this shite that gets spewed at you from the right is so wacky. Again, it's Goebbels, the daily outrage, that today's outrage has to be more outrageous than yesterday's outrage, and tomorrow's will have to be more so than today's. And that if you repeat a lie loud enough and long enough, and that's part of the quote, loud enough and long enough, it becomes truth. Well, it seems to me that that's a lot of what happens on the right. So we continue to learn things about the heir apparent, J.D. Vance. Be afraid, folks. Be very afraid. He supports a national abortion ban. He is a believer in Project 2025. He has come out repeatedly to end aid to Ukraine and allow Russia to march through Ukraine. And if you think they're stopping at Ukraine, you're sadly mistaken. If Trump is reelected and we end all support for Ukraine, Russia rolls over Ukraine and absorbs it. Well, once we've shown the precedent that we will not stop them in Ukraine, why would Russia stop? Will Poland be next? Will the three Baltic nations, Lithuania, Estonia, and Latvia, would they be next? And if it's, remember now, Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania are members of NATO, as is Poland. An attack on one is an attack on all. Would Trump honor the NATO treaty and defend those nations? He's already said he wouldn't. And Mr. Vance is standing right next to him. So why has Mr. Vance changed? Do we think he's become enlightened, evolved? No. He's getting rich from it. But here's the thing that should really anger you about Mr. Vance. He was born poor. And now that he is quite wealthy, he thinks that poor people just need to work harder. They're poor by choice. They just don't work hard enough. He has done nothing but scapegoat and attack the very level of society from whence he came. You think somebody who had a really rough economic upbringing would be more sympathetic to those in a bad economic state? No, not Mr. Vance. Hey, poor people, suck it up. Work harder. Sure, J.D. Vance, sure. 3 jobs? Not enough? Get a 4th. Get a 5th. Sleep? Who needs that? Food? Now you're really getting greedy. Heaven forbid you should have a child. That's what this week at the Nuremberg rally has been. You know, he put as one of the headlines on the program for tonight. There was all this buzz. Now, let's be honest, they had 2 days, not even 2 full days, to fix all this and to change the tone of the convention. But there was a lot of reporting after the assassination attempt on Saturday, this past Saturday, on how the whole tenor of the Republican National Convention was going to change. It was going to be more conciliatory. It was going to, one of my phrases that I'm already so sick of hearing, I can't stand it, lower the temperature. It was going to be more inclusive. They were going to try to build bridges out to other communities, to independents, to non-affiliated, even to Democrats. We're all Americans here. Have you seen any of that? Last night, Carrie Lake told the crowd that the media should have been drummed out of the building. I can't imagine the amount of security that's around the MSNBC booth in the arena in Milwaukee, followed closely by the CNN booth. I can't imagine the amount of security that's around those booths. Tonight, one of Trump's inner circle, Peter Navarro, spoke at the Republican National Convention. He was speaking when I came up to prepare for the program. This morning, he was in federal prison, serving the last hours of his federal conviction for contempt of Congress. You know, you think these people that surround Trump would finally wake up and realize they're the ones that always go to jail, and he never does. Hell, he's got judges in his pockets that dismiss the cases against him. Navarro went to jail. Bannon's in jail. Michael Cohen went to jail. Rudy Giuliani's going to go to jail. 900 plus individuals who stormed the Capitol on January 6th have gone to jail. But Trump never seems to go. One would have to think that at some point, a few members of that inner circle would kind of look at each other and go, wait a second, maybe not the best. Kind of like standing on quicksand. I feel myself sinking here. Perhaps I should move. A convicted felon walked out of federal prison this morning, got on a plane, flew to Milwaukee, and was an honored guest with a standing ovation at the Republican rally. That tells you what their values are. Mr. Navarro, at least in the parts of the speech that I could stomach, began to tell the crowd that if they can come after me, they can come after you. Hey, MAGA heads, you didn't commit contempt of Congress. The overwhelming number of you did not physically try to end the American government. Mr. Navarro did. So no, they're not coming for you. And even as Navarro stood on that stage and bitched and cried about the Justice Department, a story that we didn't get to yesterday, Democratic Senator from New Jersey, Robert Menendez, convicted on all counts. There was a special prosecutor named, special counsel. I wonder now if Senator Menendez will appeal his conviction on the grounds that the special counsel is unconstitutional. Judge Cannon in Florida just came to that conclusion. She's dead wrong and is completely unsupported by law, but that's what she's paid to do. She's been paid. She's been bought and installed in that seat to do exactly, to render exactly these types of judgments. Wonder if Senator Menendez will use it to try to get his ass out of the fire. And oh, by the way, his conviction, I couldn't be happier. When I lived in New Jersey, I had many opportunities to vote for the senator. I never did. It's been a pretty open secret in New Jersey just how dirty Bob Menendez is. From the time that he became mayor of Union City, I am thrilled that he was convicted. I hope the Senate votes to expel him because he won't go. He also won't be reelected. He is actually up for election this year and is still considering running as an independent. I hope he's expelled. I hope he's expelled. I hope they do it tomorrow. But funny how these Republicans haven't bitched about the quote-unquote weaponization of the Justice Department when it comes to Senator Menendez. When it comes to Hunter Biden, Senator Menendez, good job, Justice Department. Go get them, kids. Told you the Democrats are all dirty. But when it comes to Trump, who literally stole secret documents, and there's growing evidence, sold them, paid off a porn star to affect the outcome of a presidential election. Another judge who's come to the conclusion he did rape E. Jean Carroll. Then it's a weaponized Justice Department. The double standard should be enough to choke the life out of you. The words alone should make you gag. There is one other story. No, I did get to all of it, didn't I? But something I did want to pursue a little bit more is this idea that the RNC was going to be easy for me to say, or not, kinder and gentler following the assassination attempt. Among the things that Mr. Navarro lied about in his speech before I had to come up to the studio here is that millions of undocumented people are, and I'm actually really cleaning up his language, that millions of undocumented people are flooding across the border, raping, killing, and taking the jobs of black folk. Are millions of people pouring across the border? No. Is the border open? No. Are they committing mass murders and rapes? No. Are they taking the jobs of black folk? Possibly, because corporations like illegal labor, because it's cheap. But what's the real thrust of what Mr. Navarro was trying to say? In addition to just the very simple lying that he was doing, he's also trying to set black folk against brown folk. Because if the black and the brown start killing each other, the rich whites get to step back and they don't have to get their hands dirty. And don't think for a second that that's not part of it. Why is abortion the issue that it is? Why is immigration the issue that it is? Why is IVF and birth control the issue that it is? Why are trans people the targets that they are? Because here, look at the shiny object. Look at the shiny object. Don't worry about the hand I'm putting in your pocket to rob you blind. Just look at the shiny object. Look at the shiny object. AR-15s. AR-15s. Trans people's in a bathroom. Trans people in a bathroom. Trans person wants to play sports. Look over here. Look over here. Look over here. Look, this book. This 1,000-page book has the word gay in it once. Burn it, burn it, burn it. Never mind the hand I'm sticking in your pocket to steal everything you own. That's what it's all about. Money, 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 and money. Even now knowing the full scope and depth of the powers of the presidency, even now having a less vague idea of how government runs and operates, if given a second term, Mr. Trump will do none of that. He will use none of that to do anything that betters your life. He still wants to repeal the Affordable Care Act, Obamacare. He wants to eliminate taxes on the top 1% and corporations and the capital gains tax. How many of you out there, I'm always reminded of the way Elizabeth Warren used to do her town halls when she was running for president in 2016, and I supported her then. And I think we'd be in a much different place if she had become president. Or in 2020, I'm sorry, not 2016, 2020. Got my years wrong. Told you I get stuff wrong all the time. In 2020, I think we'd be a much different country had she become president. Not saying, I don't know that she would have got everything accomplished, actually, that President Biden got accomplished, but I think we'd be different. I always loved the way she did town halls. I think she mastered the art of a candidate doing a town hall. And the question, among the questions that she would get at every single town hall, was about the wealth tax, which is something, by the way, that we used to have in this country. We used to have a wealth tax. It was part of the New Deal that got us out of the Republican Great Depression. Trump got rid of it, Reagan got rid of it, as he did with most taxes on rich people. But we had a wealth tax in this country. She would like to reinstitute a wealth tax. Actually, so would Bernie Sanders. And Ro Khanna and Mark Pocan. I can name, the Progressive Caucus, essentially. And someone would stand up and say, am I going to have to pay your wealth tax? And she would say, that's a great question. Thank you for that, because I know that there's been a lot of misinformation about my proposal for a wealth tax. Can I just ask you all, and she would be speaking to the crowd at this point, how many of you make over X, and I forget what the number is that she used to say. I want to say it was 40 million. I could be wrong about that. I'm trying to remember. I'm trying to play it back in my head, what she would say. So is anybody in here make over, well, I really do think it was 4 million, 40 million. Anybody in here worth over $40 million? And of course, nobody would raise their hands. And she would say, okay, so none of you will have to pay this tax, but I'll explain it to you anyway. And I'll explain what we would do with the money. And she immediately diffused the situation and the pushback, because anybody in here worth X millions? Anybody? No? Well, guess what? Then none of you will pay it. None of you will pay a dime in wealth tax. But I'll explain it to you anyway. It's a very similar thing to Trump running to regain the White House. Does everybody in this room, does everybody at the RNC think that Trump is going to do something to improve your lives? Yeah, okay, well, he's not, and let me explain it to you. Now, most of those folks don't want to hear it, and they won't believe you anyway. But that doesn't change the facts of it. Eliminating income taxes on rich people doesn't benefit you. Eliminating corporate taxes does nothing to benefit you. Eliminating all financial regulation does nothing to benefit you. Allowing Russia to steamroll through Europe does nothing to benefit you. And oh, by the way, if Trump allows Russia to roll across Europe, what do you think he's going to let China do? He just said again yesterday that he can't fully commit to defending Taiwan if, and I happen to think, when China launches a full-scale invasion. Where does that leave the United States? Where does it leave Canada, Mexico? Where does it leave North and South America if he allows Russia to roll west and China, and China to move east? Now, granted, Taiwan is not an American territory. What if China decides they want Guam or the Marshall Islands? All these terribly historically significant World War II geographic locations. What if they decide they want to take the Aleutian Islands off of Alaska? Where does that leave? Randall asks a very salient question. Come on, I clicked on that. Where does that leave Japan and Australia? President Biden has forged NATO-like military alliances with South Korea, Japan, the Philippines, Australia, New Zealand. When Trump decides to allow China to run rampant, where does that leave those nations? And by the way, if you think none of those nations are armed, have nuclear weapons, you're foolish. Facing extinction or launching nukes, you think any of those countries would hold back? Same thing in Western Europe. Putin rolls through Russia, or I already got that wrong. Putin rolls through Ukraine, puts him on the border of Poland, which puts him one country away from Germany. The French have nukes. The Brits have nukes. I'd be gobsmacked if the Swedes and the Finns didn't have them. They might not be on the official list of nations that are nuclear armed. You wouldn't be shocked if they had them. You won't hear any talk about that this week. I haven't seen reporting. Now, I've watched precious little of the RNC. It is it's kind of like watching an autopsy. I mean, I'm not good with horror movies. I don't like blood and guts. That's kind of what this is. You just want to turn away from it. You can't even watch it with the fascination of like a car crash. Or those videos where a train hits a truck that's straddling the train tracks at a crossing. You can't even watch it with a morbid fascination. It's disturbing. It's disturbing. If you value democracy, I'm not sure how you could watch it. But that's probably, I don't know of any speaker so far this week who has mentioned the fact that we're going to leave Ukraine to rot. Because even with Republicans, that is a powerfully unpopular position. Support for Ukraine in the United States is polling in the 70 percentile. In fact, the last one I saw was almost 78%. People support helping Ukraine, which just by definition, there has to be some Republicans in there. But you won't hear about that in Nuremberg this week, because that's not a popular position with their own people. So what do? A lie of omission is still a lie. We just won't talk about it. There's been some reporting this week that the Trump tax cuts that Paul Ryan, Mitch McConnell, Trump helped usher through, 83% of which went to the top 1% and the largest corporations. Most of the 99% did not get an actual cut. They just got a change in their withholding so they could take home a few extra bucks every week. But then when tax time came, you owed it anyway. Even that is ready to expire. And taxes on the bottom 99% will begin to increase every single year for 10 straight years. Shame on the Democrats for not fixing this when they had full control of Congress and the executive. Mr. Trump has expressed his interest in extending the tax cuts. Except again, the 99% didn't get a tax cut. He wants to extend them for the 1% and for the corporations. If he can't, through Project 2025, eliminate those taxes entirely. You won't hear a word about that at Nuremberg this week. Something else you're not going to hear about. 19 Republican attorneys general are suing the Justice Department and healthcare providers throughout the country. When a woman leaves, let's say Texas, to travel to Pennsylvania for reproductive health care, and that might be an abortion, or maybe it wasn't a planned abortion, and the actual physical exam given that is inaccessible in these red states leads to abortion. These 19 Republican attorneys general are suing for the right to access your health care records without your permission, so they can track these women across the country. So that if a woman from Texas comes to New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Delaware, Maryland, Massachusetts, New York, California, Washington, Oregon, for reproductive health care, and then returns to Texas, they can be arrested under Texas law. I don't think you're going to hear a lot about that this week. So what are you hearing this week? Some of the usual tax and spend Democrats, big government Democrats. But really most what you're hearing this week is they're coming to get you. Be afraid. Be very afraid. Fear. Be scared. Be worried. Our country's ending. Democrats bad. Trump good. Even the highlights of the speeches that I've seen, the speakers are not saying Republicans are here for. Republicans are here to do. We believe in. Because you don't... Almost, really close. Because you don't bloody believe in anything. You don't believe in anything. Hard to tell people what you believe in when at the core of it, you don't believe in anything. They haven't put any policy positions forward. It's all been beating the hell out of Democrats. I haven't seen a single speaker stand on that stage and talk that they want a national abortion ban, because even Republicans, when you poll Republicans, as many as 44% of them think abortion should be legal and accessible. That's a minority, but 44 is damn close to half. Abortion rights are polling around 65% now in the country. That means by default, there's Republicans in there. They're not talking on stage about eliminating the Department of Education, Department of Energy, Securities and Exchange Commission, Federal Election Commission, Department of Energy, Department of the Interior, the ATF, about bringing the Justice Department under direct control of the president, along with the FBI and the CIA. I'm not talking to you about any of Project 2025 this week because they don't want you to know about it. They don't want their own people to know about it. They don't want their own cult to really know what they're getting to. Randall's right, the EPA as well. I should have mentioned the EPA. So as Nuremberg finishes tomorrow, try to keep an ear out, even if all the best you can do is watch the highlights. Try to keep an ear out, not so much for what you hear, but for what you don't hear. You won't hear about expanding voting rights. You won't hear about expanding access to health care. You certainly won't hear about ending student debt or medical debt or lowering taxes for the bottom 99%, raising the minimum wage, encouraging unionization. You won't hear about any of that. All you're going to hear is, they're bad, we will save you. Be afraid. Be very, very afraid. Except of us. We're the only ones who can stop it. There's nothing to stop. That about does it for us, 8:59. We're done. TKE tonight for Wednesday, the 17th. If you missed any of our program, please, I continue to encourage you. Randall's right. You won't hear about ending Social Security and Medicare. You're bloody right, mate. You are completely correct. You won't hear about any of that. You won't hear about any of that. If you ever miss any of our program, I want to continue to encourage you. Loyal listeners and new listeners alike, please start finding us in other places. YouTube, Twitch, occasionally Twitter, LinkedIn. Facebook is becoming untenable. They don't want us there. They're trying to drive us underground. So please start checking out some of these other places. Now, it's 9 p.m. Go get some popcorn. Get a glass of milk and cookies. Walk the dog. Fold laundry. Whatever you need to do. You got about a 2-hour break. And then from 11 p.m. Eastern, here on GCPR, Conversations with T. Nathan. If you haven't checked it out yet, please do. I think you will find it exceptionally educational and enlightening. And that's not to say you'll agree with everything he says either. And I can't say that I know T. Nathan super well, but I think he'd probably say the same thing that I do. It's not about agreeing with him. It's about having the conversation. It's not about telling you what to think. It's about asking you to think. So I hope that you'll check it out. Conversations with T. Nathan, 11 p.m. Eastern, here on GCPR. For everyone at GCPR, for Sergeant Mac, T. Nathan, Gambit, Gilbert, Gretchen, Ben, Brett, Pastor Best, Bob Kosh. I don't think I'm forgetting anybody. I don't think I'm forgetting anybody. For everybody at GCPR, for everybody associated with the Kennedy Effect, Lynn and George Dare, of course, woman who brought you all of this, April Riddick, and for Kristen, Daisy the dog, and Guy the cat downstairs. I'm going to take a little privilege here because nothing is on after us till 11. Kristen has is an absolute hero. She is a hero. She is Guy the cat's hero. And his mom in every last way that you could think of. She drove him around the state of New Jersey today for nearly 6 hours, getting him checked and medicines, and I would say we took him, but I had to work. I couldn't go. I was on the phone, but I couldn't go. We took him to a cancer veterinary hospital in New Jersey, where they told us pretty much what we already knew. That his cancer is beyond help, and that he would likely not survive any types of treatment. And yet, while I was on the phone, the doctor said he's just the best. He was purring the entire time. The doctor was grabbing him by the head, moving him around, poking, prodding, checking him, and he never made a sound other than purr, and tried to rub up and love up on the doctor. And he said, "You have a very special guy here." And he's right. We really do. So he is comfortable. He is eating. He is loving. And he is also terminal. And I suspect probably by the end of the month, we'll have to say goodbye to him. And since today's the 17th, that's not too long from now. And I think that we've definitely entered that mode where every single time we do something, we tend to now think, maybe that's the last time that we'll do this, or the last time that we'll see him do this, or the last time that he'll be on my lap, or the last time I hold him. You want to know what's pro-life? Find a cat like him. And adopt them. And make him part of your family. Find a dog like Daisy. And adopt them. Make them part of your family. That's pro-life. You won't hear about that this week in Nuremberg either. Guy is 18. He's had a good life. He's had a really good life. And he has given me and us infinitely more than I have given him. He is the purest of souls and doesn't deserve what he's going through. I've been blessed to have him be part of my family. And we don't have any breaks scheduled in the program anytime soon. Both our weeknight program and the Sunday program. But when we have to make this decision, I'll be off for a while. You'll know when it happened. I don't think it's going to be this Saturday. I got a really good feeling that by next Saturday, we're going to have to make a choice. He just doesn't deserve it. He just doesn't. He deserves to go to sleep with a full belly one night and just sleep. And just drift away. But I don't think that's going to happen. So please, whether you're young, old, you've been with the program for a long time, or you're brand new to us, you want to know what pro-life is? Go find a cat like him. Make them part of your family. You will thank them more than they thank you. Oh, they'll thank you. Guy's the most thankful cat I've ever had. And he still is. Even today, as sick as he is, he still thanks me. But no, I thank him. There's a very serious lack of love in this world. And there's a serious drought of love in this country for each other. And one place you can always get it is adopting a furry friend and making them part of your family. It's unconditional love and companionship and friendship and partnership. And that's what he's been for 18 years. And it's going to get real ugly around here in the next couple weeks. Real ugly. I'd trade so much of whatever time I have left to give it to him. That's love. Our plan is to be back with you tomorrow night and then on Sunday as well, as the broadcast week for GCPR wraps up tomorrow. I shouldn't say that. There are programs on Friday and Saturday too, but you know what I mean. Our broadcast week. Again, I really strongly encourage you. Please check out the website, www.gcpr.live. Find out everywhere where you can find our programming. Find out, read descriptions about the shows, the hosts, get the schedule. Everything is there. And please support us. Just put into the Google machine gcpr.live. Find the website, find our YouTube channel, find the Twitch channel, find all of it. Please support us. Like, subscribe, follow, whatever, depends on the, you know what I mean. Just please, we're asking for your support, and please tell your friends and neighbors about it as well. This is a brand new venture. We're only in our third week of broadcasting. If we're going to stay on the air, we need you. So please check it all out. Give us a chance and check it all out. That's about all the damage we can do for tonight. Thank you for being patient with me and allowing me to vent here a bit. This is a wonderful, wonderful radio family here on the Kennedy Effect. We couldn't be here without you. Thanks so much. We'll see you tomorrow night. T. Nathan from 11 p.m. Stick around. Sound of Coffee tomorrow morning from 8. And the Kennedy Effect. TKE tonight returns tomorrow from 8 p.m. Have a wonderful, wonderful night. And if you're in any of the bad weather, be safe. We'll see you tomorrow.